What's up, guys? I'm wondering how to preface this video. I don't think I really will. I think I'm just gonna tell you the name of it, and we'll go from there because it's quite absurd. Tommy Robinson and Anjem Choudary. What's the difference? Off the top of my head, I could think of a million things, but let's see where this video goes. Right off the bat, this guy and this guy are the same. Oh really, are they now? No, I'm sorry, you see, one is a Islamist who supports terrorism, and the other isn't. The other's Tommy Robinson. The other one is against Islamism and terrorism. This video is going to drop a lot of false equivalences. Whoever created this, Momentum, I don't know who they are, at People's Momentum on Twitter, you guys should totally be ashamed of yourself, because this video is a disgrace.
No to Islamization! No to mass immigration!
Both preach hate of each other. No, they don't. Tommy talks about how Islam is a terrible religion. He talks about the things said in the Quran and the Hadith. Anjem does also. He talks about the things in the Quran and the Hadith, and he supports them all. He supports terrorist organizations. Tommy talks about how child rape is not condemned in the Quran. Anjem believes that whatever's said in the Quran is God's word and you should follow it. You know, things like death to apostates, things like Jew hatred. I've never heard Tommy say hateful things. I've heard him say things about immigration, how mass immigration is bad, and that's what you hear him screaming in there. That's not preaching hate. Mass immigration is never good. I've heard Tommy say some stupid things, but I've never really heard him say anything hateful towards another group. Before I keep rambling on, let's just get back into it real quick. Both want to divide and create conflict. No, that's not true. But they say that because, you know, Tommy is not down for mass immigration like I just talked about. Tommy just doesn't want his country to lose their culture. See, in a multicultural society, it's fine to bring your culture in, bring the great aspects of your culture and share it with the rest of the country. But when you disrespect and don't like the actual culture of the country you're living in, it's not really that fucking cool to the people who've been there their whole lives. It's sort of like you have an enemy living in your home, and it makes no sense. Tommy actually just wants the people of different cultures in his country to embrace the country's culture. So in the long run, I don't think Tommy's trying to divide and create conflict. The unfortunate thing is that religions, especially Islam, can't be criticized, even in this day and age. So that creates the conflict.
Darren Osborne is accused of using a van to deliberately mow down one Muslim worshipper. Original plan, he said, was to kill Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn.
A single attacker using a car as his weapon, mowing down people on a bridge to the British Parliament. He was likely inspired by Islamic extremist terrorism.
Oh, that's a funny one. So, a random guy mows down a Muslim, and he's somehow inspired by Tommy Robinson. That's fucking incredible. And the Muslim guy who mowed down people was actually inspired by Islamic extremist terrorists. How is that anywhere near the same? What's funny is, that's not even Anjem Choudary who inspired this guy. Although Anjem himself has inspired people to commit violent acts against others. Do you remember the guy who was on the streets in England somewhere and had just cut off some guy's head, that dark dude? He was one of Anjem Chowdary's buddies.
Only reason we have killed this man today is because Muslims are dying daily by British soldiers, and this British soldier is an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.
So that's the first wonderful false equivalence. The asshole who mowed down a Muslim has nothing to do with Tommy Robinson.
Murderer Anders Breivik, who admitted killing 77 people. The killings were part of his fight against the Islamification of Norway.
3 people have been killed in southern France. The attacker had pledged allegiance to Islamic State.
So then they try and compare Anders Breivik, who didn't want Norway to be Islamized, to someone who was actually inspired by the Islamic State. Do you see how this makes no sense? Anders Breivik has nothing to do with Tommy Robinson. He was not inspired by him. There's one thing Anders Breivik got right. He doesn't want the Islamization of his country, and no one should want that. Anders Breivik was a psycho neo-Nazi who's a piece of shit, but he had nothing to do with Tommy Robinson. Whereas Anjem Choudary is actually in jail for supporting the Islamic State. This truly is one of the worst videos I've ever seen. And trust me, I'm not even always 100% on board with Tommy Robinson. He is a wacky Christian, of course, so he's wrong there. And I don't really agree with what he did recently that got him put in jail, although everyone's saying how they have it in for him, the cops, which they obviously do, but he did break the law, which he shouldn't have done. He was already basically like on probation for doing that before, and they said never doing it again, and he could have jeopardized a trial that would put away a bunch of Muslim rapists, which is what he's been fighting about for years now, so that was very stupid of him. Now, I guarantee you, even though this whole video is about me defending Tommy Robinson, I'm gonna get shit in the comments section for that. Fuck you people. Anyway, back to the video.
Today, there is a war going on! My very good friend now, Bishop David Walker and Rabbi Daniel Walker. Continue to keep loving each other. It's only love that will unite us.
And now they show you footage of Muslims and Jews getting along, and Jeremy Corbyn, you know, introducing them to each other, and they're gonna act as if we're against this. No. Everyone's totally for this type of thing, these people getting along. We're against the assholes like Choudary who want to promote actual violence, incite actual violence towards non-Muslims. Whereas Tommy Robinson never says he wants to use violence against Muslims. This video is pathetic propaganda. Just a bunch of false equivalences trying to compare Tommy Robinson to people who support the Islamic State. It's so absurd. And trying to tie him to crimes that had nothing to do with him. Anders Breivik? Are you fucking kidding? So obscene. Anyway, I think that'll be all for this. If you like my videos, you can always pledge to my Patreon, or even buy a t-shirt from my Teespring. There's some cool shirts up there. Links are in the description. Fuck Momentum and their shitty ass video. Fuck Anjem Choudary. And most of all, fuck Islam. And now I'll leave you with some Primus. Have a good night, everyone.